Pray for Israel. World politicians and celebrities are currently singing their prayers in unison for Israel.
A traumatic and devastating period for Israel and for the world.
National landmarks are being shone blue and white in solidarity, and media outlets are furiously condemning Palestinian terror in outrage.
Do you support what Hamas launched?
Do you condemn what Hamas did?
I'm sorry, but please. For decades, we've watched Israeli occupying forces smash into Palestinian homes, shoot at children, literally kill journalists, take prisoners indefinitely, bomb entire cities, level entire buildings, obliterate entire generations of families, confine 2.2 million civilians to the world's largest open-air prison, impose an actual apartheid system, illegally occupy and invade Palestinian land for 75 years with full impunity.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
And now we are told to pray for Israel?
How many times Israel have committed war crimes? Do you start by asking them to condemn themselves? Have you? You don't.
Why? Because for the first time in history, the occupied have decided to take a stance against their occupier. For the first time, Palestinians have decided to resist their invaders, and media outlets are not having it. I mean, these are the same voices that vehemently told us how Ukrainians deserve their right to sovereignty and the right to resist their Russian occupiers. But Palestinians, unfortunately, Palestinians must learn to forfeit their right to sovereignty and simply accept to live under an apartheid state. All the while, they twiddle their thumbs. They must learn to simply allow their occupiers to invade their lands, steal their homes, and subject them to a relentless blockade for 15 years. They must learn to tolerate their children being shot at arbitrarily and watch their sacred sites desecrated and repeatedly invaded. So Ukraine, do your thing, resist, and take our money while you're at it. But Palestinians, keep it together. The hypocrisy is deafening. Yet if someone in particular takes the crown, it's perhaps Australia's own Prime Minister.
Israel, of course, has a right to defend itself.
Mr. Anthony Albanese, who is currently spending his days and nights campaigning for the marginalised Indigenous people of Australia to give them a voice, because they have suffered far too long at the hands of their European colonisers. A man that even took it upon himself to champion this cause amongst the Muslim community in our own mosques. Yet I guess things are different for Mr. Albanese when the colonisers are not the British, but the Zionists. When your invaders are not Captain Cook and co, but the Israeli occupying forces. When your colonisers don't put you in chains, but carpet bomb your city. Because in this case, such people don't deserve a voice. Rather, their occupier deserves the right to indefinitely defend themselves, to silence your voice. And while we obsess over Israel's right to defend itself, perhaps we should be asking, against who? We are talking about one of the most powerful and well-funded armies in the world. An army that has access to billions of dollars of US funding. An army that has space assets, advanced fighter jets, high-tech armed drones, and let's not forget, nuclear weapons. This army has the right to defend itself against an army that is using improvised hang gliders. And it's not just the Israeli army's sheer power, but also their track record of war crimes, their history of attacking schools, hospitals, and totaling death counts in disproportionate numbers. And most shockingly, an army that acts with absolute impunity and zero remorse. This is an army that, as we speak, is promising to cripple an already crippled city. The death toll has already surpassed 1,000, and they've turned off the electricity in Gaza, blacking out hospitals and restricting patients from receiving treatment. It truly is a David versus Goliath moment, and I assure you, Israel is not David in this fight. So while yes, we pray for peace and security in Palestine, I think it's important to understand that there can be no peace while we conveniently ignore the reality on the ground. As Malcolm X famously once said, "If you stick a knife in my back, 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. If you pull it out all the way, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made, and they won't even admit the knife is there. So acknowledge the apartheid, acknowledge the knife. Acknowledge the fact that there is an illegal occupation, that there is an inhumane siege crippling the people of Gaza, and remove this knife before you speak about peace, freedom, and progress.